Sometimes the days get so long, so I just close my eyes. Far away is where I'll be. So if you need to find me, I'll be gone on my own. I can't tell you why, it just feels like
Hey y'all, happy
gang?
Friday. Come on, Phils, let's go. This is bullshit. Come on, we need you. Let's go. Happy Friday. I know we're not going to have a lot in here tonight because anybody in Pennsylvania will be watching the game and not me. But that's okay too. I'm okay with that. Hope everybody had a great week. We had a great week. Loved watching the Phils do their thing. And hoping we can pull this off again. This is awesome. World Series 2009. Need another patch for my jersey. Hope everybody is doing well. If not, please, if you have somewhere to do the comments, please comment. Let us know what's up, and we can, give you our insight, give you our suggestions, share our hope with you. That's what we're here for. We do not do politics. We do not do religion. Too heated, and it gets ugly. So we're going to keep it not ugly. I hope you guys, pop in to the comments and share anything that you may have in your toolbox. And we have a guest tonight, Barb Kay. She's awesome. She is going to share her story with us. And we're just going to hang out for the night. And Richard's going to keep us in check with where the Phillies are at and what they're doing. And if anybody's out there watching the Phils, feel free to throw them in there. And we will be here next week as well with another guest, which will be Judge Andrea Duffy. Ooh. So make sure you check that out as well. She was supposed to be here a month or two ago, but family situation, so she was unable to attend, but she will be here next Friday with us. So with that being said, Barb Kay is our guest. I met her through the alumni of Living Grin. Awesome group. You know I love my Living Grin. I got my red on for Fred. Nice. And it's the Phillies. It's just red October. So we're going to let Barb share her story, share her journey, her experience, and hopefully she can give you some hope out there and give you some suggestions. If you want to hear something a little bit more from us, please give us a call at 267-737-8031. The phone line is always open, and you can always throw it into the chats as well. So with that being said, Barb, how are you this evening?
I am good.
Awesome.
Well. I'm nervous, but that's okay.
Don't be nervous. It's just you, me, Pappy, and Rich, and the kids. The kids are running around right now like crazy little.
I feel compelled to say sweaty balls.
There you go.
While I'm sitting here. You know what I mean?
Margaret
season?
Joe?
Yes, that's what I feel. Margaret Joe. It's like, anyway, good times.
Yes.
All right. I'll just keep throwing that the whole
There you
time.
go.
Once I get a laugh, it's
You're good.
It's
You're good.
So I'm super happy to be here. I just came from a lovely soiree where there was live acoustic music, and I had a ball. I have my red on too. I have some pasta sauce on my shirt. So that's my contribution to Red October for this evening.
There you go.
Go Phils! My God, yeah! What a beautiful, beautiful time to be a Philadelphia person.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in the far northeast section of Philly, near, old timers will know, near Liberty Bell Racetrack.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Our Lady of Calvary Parish, and got to see the Flyers win the Stanley Cup and be part of that.
I remember that.
At the time, I was a freshman at George Washington High School, and my parents forbade me to go to the parade. So I took the bus to school that day, and it was empty. The halls were empty. So somehow, I think back on stuff from when I was 13, 14. I don't remember how I got half the places I got, but wound up downtown to witness that. And also 1980 when the Phils won, got to go downtown to the parade and just suck up all that energy and excitement. I think I didn't have a voice for like 3 days after that. I remember all them days well. Yeah. We had a guy named Mike Bremser in our neighborhood. He was like the neighborhood cheerleader. And I remember being up at a shopping center near Woodhaven and Knights Road, and him, leading us in cheers, and it was just the best. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It really was.
I remember decorating my bicycle.
Did you?
And running down the street before all the traffic started. Yeah.
We have a little age difference. I was actually in a Volkswagen then, so
I was on a bicycle.
Bicycle on wheels, pretty much. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about a lot of things, I guess. First and foremost, I want to say that my home group meets on Friday nights. It is called the Become One of Us meeting of Opiates Anonymous. We meet at Newtown United Methodist Church from 7 until 8:15. That's just a little information about our meeting. We have where do I show this?
That one.
We have a 12 and 12, Opiates Anonymous 12 and 12 available. I'm not here to hawk these things or whatever, but
sure.
If you come to the meeting and you're interested, we'll give them to you, or you could purchase it, whatever.
There you go.
Whatever you want to do. Our fellowship uses the first 164 pages of the Big Book of AA. The main difference is that our first step talks about substances, that affect our mind, and as opposed to, alcohol. We don't talk about alcohol per se. So, all right. I should probably read it because I just screwed it up a little bit.
You're good.
All mind-altering substances. Boom, shakalaka. That's the first step.
She does this all the time, but she's not used to being on the air like this, so she's a little
wacky. I'm a little wacky, Papa.
nervous for something. I don't
Oh
worry.
my God! Listen, I've had a long week. My husband's been home sick as a dog since Sunday night during the game. He started coughing. So
I know about that. My tuberculosis acted up this week, and I haven't been able to get my medication. It's been out of stock, so I know what you're. I know what you're going through.
So I've been home all week. I love you, Jim. Anyway, so yeah, there are other Opiates Anonymous meetings as well. There is a great meeting on Monday nights in Kensington on Somerset Street at the Last Stop.
Yeah.
That meeting is from 8 o'clock until 9:15. They're always looking for speakers there. There's a great meeting on Tuesday nights in Yardville, New Jersey from 7 to 8 p.m. if anybody's interested in information on meetings, you can contact me, or I'll throw out my number, whatever we want to do. My name's Barb Kelleher, by the way. I'm not really what I would consider to be an anonymous person so much. Yeah. Let me take a sip.
Take a sip.
Do we have
It's
a
funny you
score?
brought up Kensington. I heard something funny there. You know what they call those cheese jacks? You know those curly cheese things that we've always eaten, like Cheetos?
Oh, yeah.
They call them Kensington shrimp.
Oh, my God.
I've never heard that expression.
That's good.
One of my customers today, we're talking about donuts, and it's that.
Oh, my God, I love those
And
things. So one time I ate a bag bigger than my body, and the roof of my mouth was sore for a week.
Oh, yeah, they're like sandpaper.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was worth it. So I grew up in the far northeast section of Philly. It was actually within a couple of miles of the border of Bucks County, where Bensalem is. I grew up in a great neighborhood, predominantly Catholic neighborhood. On our block, we were lucky because across the street from my house wasn't developed. So it was a two-way road, but there was all woods across the street. And it was fantastic adventures as a kid. I mean, we thought we were in the Sherwood Forest, for God's sakes, but it was literally...
Your story sounds so familiar, like
Yeah.
mine. The same way with
Yeah,
mine.
yeah.
In '67, my parents bought a brand new house in Northeast Philly between Chalfont and Morell Park. It's called Penswood
Yeah.
section right there. And we had all woods across the street. Within a year, we had 1,200 apartments
Yeah.
built. Rushwood apartments were built. We had apple
my
trees and
God.
all, and the next thing you know, it was a metropolis.
Yeah. My parents bought in 1961. Knights Road was a dirt road at the time. They were basically pioneers. There was one bus that we had, was the 84.
Wow,
and if you
funny.
really wanted to get anywhere, you had to walk down to City Line Ave to the 66.
Yeah.
And I befriended a group of sisters. They were allowed to go down the avenue on the 66. And that was like a huge deal when I was 13 years old to be allowed to go down the avenue in Mayfair
yeah.
with my friends on the bus. I thought that was super cool. But yeah, it was a great, it was like, building forts in the woods and having a tree swing, and I loved running. It was like the old people say now, which I are one. You came home when the lights came on.
Yeah.
That's just how it was.
Yeah.
And it was, God, I'm so blessed to have grown up.
Have
at
that.
time.
Yep.
Yeah, without a doubt.
exactly.
Oh, these kids today miss on all that. They
Yeah.
miss on all those experiences.
Yeah, it sucks. So, I spent all my youth running and jumping and playing and having a blast outside. And my family was intact. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a track and field coach and a football coach, and he eventually became the athletic director at Temple University. That kind of factors into parts of my story. My dad was never home. He was a workaholic. He was in charge of all the facilities during all the seasons for all the sports. And, but it was really cool because we got to go to work with him, my brothers and I, as we grew up. But, so lots of fun outside. And then when I was like 8 years old, I started to have pain in my knee. And, at first it was like, I would complain about it, and I had to walk a mile to and from school every day.
Was it Oscar Schlatters disease?
No, it wasn't actually. They didn't know what it was. I had this pain, and it took away everything for me. I used to cry myself to sleep at night. Because I couldn't, at night, the pain was just not tolerable. And, my mom didn't drive. So we're out there, where you have to walk to everything. And it just became agonizing for me because, first it would be like Ben Gay. Like, I went to 3rd grade smelling like Ben Gay, people. That was my life. And then she would give me St. Joseph aspirin, and then eventually they bumped me up to Bufferin because I couldn't take the pain, and that went on for like a year, and I just felt, I just felt like nobody was listening to me and nobody really cared, and they said it was bursitis, and then they came in with the diagnosis of growing pains. Growing pains.
That
Yeah,
catch-all phrase.
they didn't have CAT scans or MRIs back then. They had X-rays. That was
Right.
it. So, then at some point, this lump started to grow out of the side of my knee, and in a short period of time, I would say, in like 8 weeks, it went from a slightly visible lump, bigger and bigger and bigger, until it was kind of like a golf ball sticking out of the side of my knee. And they took me to the hospital. My dad, he had a lot of colleagues within Temple Hospital, especially within the sports realm, and so I got a lot of great evaluation, and they had no idea what it was or what was wrong, and the pain was mind-splitting. I used to love to read to myself at night. I was an avid reader as a child, and in the beginning, I could read the pain away and get immersed in whatever it was I was reading, and eventually it just got to the point where, nothing helped. And so they realized they had to do surgery, and I distinctly remember being in St. Christopher's Hospital down on Broad Street. This was 1969. I was in 3rd grade, and my parents had to leave me and go home back to the Northeast. And I remember crying in the bed, and I was terrified of needles as a kid. And I remember the nurse coming to me and saying, we can give you something for the pain. And she said, it's a needle. And I said, no. And like an hour later, she comes back and she says, listen, you're really suffering. So I said, fine. And I don't remember the injection itself. I don't remember the trauma of that, seeing it and smelling the alcohol. But I remember what I felt like the minute she shot me in the ass with that needle. And I remember as soon as it took effect, this feeling like, and the screaming that had been in my head for like that year of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, was finally quiet. And I couldn't feel anything. And the next morning they did the surgery, and they came out of the OR, and they told my parents that the inside of my knee looked like an NFL football player had been clipped. There was a cyst that was growing inside the bones of my knee, and it had eaten basically all of the cartilage in my knee.
Wow. And
had deteriorated the internal components of my knee. And they didn't know how I would walk, if I would be able to, if my gait would be affected, whatever. But, that whole medical thing became my life. It became, as a 9-year-old, me talking about congenital defect of the lateral meniscus. Like, these were the conversations that I was having with people, and I did great post-op. I can remember watching all the kids playing. It was February when I had my surgery, and I can remember the kids playing in the snow and looking out my living room window and not being able to participate, and that was a bummer. But it helped me, make up my mind that I'm getting my ass out there as soon as possible. And I did. I went on to run track and have tons of fun in middle school, great fun in middle school. The summer between 8th and 9th grade, So I hung with a group at Our Lady of Calvary in the schoolyard. There were basketball courts, so we were called the courts. Okay, so there was different groups, and we were the courts. And the guys in our group, a bunch of them were like a year or two older. They were all smoking pot, and I was interested in that. Most of my girlfriends had a unit of 8 girlfriends. Most of them were afraid. They didn't want to get caught. They didn't want to get in trouble. They were afraid what it would do to them. Not me. I can still remember the corncob pipe that they packed. Sitting next to the gym doors at Our Lady of Calvary School, firing up this corncob and all the seeds popping and getting high for the first time. And it was a mixture for me of feeling like, well, now I'm not the geek anymore, who still has to wear the clothes her grandmother sewed for her at middle school when everybody else was in jeans and the hippies were all about. And there I was, like, in Wranglers up to here, when I was allowed to wear jeans to school.
Right.
Because prior to that, people, that was no bueno, right? So I was hoping now I have this like image now, right? Now I'm getting high with the guys. This is awesome. And it became my favorite thing in the world. And unfortunately for me, it took over. Like a lot of my friends were weekend warriors, and they drank a lot. I mean, on a Friday night, you could chip in on a nickel bag of weed and a 6-pack and be, you know, buzzed for the whole weekend. But the guys were heavier drinkers, and I got drunk and was out of control and puking on my own self and had a horrible situation that same summer between 8th and 9th grade. And I decided that I did not want to be out of control like that. So I basically was the pothead, and everybody else drank whenever they could.
What were you drinking? Like Booze Farm, Strawberry Hill? Or?
You know, I think it was beer. I remember sake one night. Because it made my one girlfriend cry that nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. I'll never forget it. I was like, oh my God. So many silly stories. Peeing in the bushes and just, we had a creek, which, yes, we say creek in Philly, people. It's
Creek.
not creek.
Yes, it's not creek. It's a creek.
Down the creek, and they would bring barrels of beer down, and the older guys, and it's just what we did. Gosh, I have so much to say.
Keggers.
Yeah, man, we got plenty of time. Say it.
So my freshman year, I went to George Washington High School, public school, and we literally dressed like you know, dregs or whatever. It was way before Nirvana was doing it, you know, with the flannels, and I had Converse sneakers that had an L on my left foot and right in ink on the top. And there was just no school pride in that building. I was book number 436 out of 1,100 freshmen. And I felt lost, and I felt overwhelmed, and the place was disgusting. Like, you wouldn't want to go to the bathroom in there. The lunchroom was just a shithole. And I just remember it.
Stop sugarcoating things and just come out and say it.
It was a shock. And so my friends got cars. I was 14. They were 16. And they started cutting school and going to Washington's Crossing. And, you know, filling up a peanut butter jar with all the alcohol out of mom and dad's cabinet, and being out in the snow and sneaking around trying not to get caught that they cut class. And I started to become part of that. And you know, this is so weird because I love to get high. That was my thing. It was my image. And at some point, something happened to me that freshman year, and I realized that I needed to get out of there. And I remember calling my mom from a payphone in the high school and telling her, I can't stay here because I'm doing things I shouldn't be doing. I don't know. I know I wasn't totally honest with them. But you need to get me out of here because this is not working. And I found in the phone book a school. I started looking at schools, and all of a sudden I find this. Wait, let me back up. Do you remember? I think you're too young. The movie, The Trouble with Angels.
Not
It
me.
was a movie from the 50s about like Haley Mills, and there are these two girls, and they go to a convent, and one of them is just a hellion, and they're sort of like Lucy and Ethel, and they get into trouble. The main line, one would say to the other, "I have the most scathingly brilliant idea," and the other one would be in, right? And of course, then the one that was the wild person wound up becoming a nun at the end of the movie. But I loved that movie, and so I find this Nazareth Academy in the phone book, and I'm like, wow, it's right on Grand Ave, right off of Frankfurt Ave. Never heard of it before. Didn't know that every Catholic school, girls were taking the entrance exam and trying to get in. It was very prestigious to get in, and so my parents made phone calls on my behalf, and I got in. It was $750 a year. My mother was having a heart attack.
It's funny because I was supposed to go to Washington, and I knew if I had went to Washington, I'd have gone down that road.
Yeah.
And I switched over to Catholic school in high school. I went
about
from
that?
public school, and I switched over
Same
to
thing.
Ryan,
Yes.
for high school.
Right? Well, I'm not Catholic. So I was the only non-Catholic.
In the Catholic
In the
school.
whole-
I actually
building.
converted in there. I actually went, took lessons and all when I knew I was going to go to Ryan, because I really didn't practice any religion, and I became a Catholic.
That's
Because all my
impressive.
friends were all Catholic.
Yeah.
And it's the best move I ever made because it was more structured, and
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and they were
Yeah.
they lean on you more.
I grew up in a small Protestant church, also on Knights Road. We'd be lucky to get 65 people on a Sunday, but it was, the people were the church. Mm-hmm. My parents were the consistory members and the elders and the deacons, and my whole family went there, and it was an amazing way to grow up in that church. It wasn't like Calvary that used to pack them in. Back then they didn't do Saturdays, but they did like 3 on Sunday and kind of thing. My husband grew up in Our Lady of Calvary Parish on a horseshoe-shaped street across from Benjamin Rush Middle School. Used to be. Now it's like
Yep, I went
an
to
art
Benjamin
school.
Rush.
There were 400 kids on his block. Think about that.
Wow.
400 kids. So anytime he stepped out, something was popping all the time. But it wasn't so much like that where I live. But anyway, so Nazareth Academy. Okay, I got in. I got the uniforms. I traded in my grunge wear for a uniform and knee socks and saddle shoes, and off I went. And I literally knew one girl that I had been a Girl Scout with, and maybe one other person. But here's what happened the first day. And I knew I was living a double life because I knew I probably couldn't wait to get out of there to go get high, to smoke something. I walk in. Now, I'm a sophomore, and they all know each other already, right? They've already all done freshman year together, so I'm the new girl, and they're kind of like hovering, and somebody said, hey, do you party? And I said, doesn't everybody? And my best friend, who's been my best friend since then, decided she hated me because I was obnoxious for saying, doesn't everybody? So I found my people there. Found my people there the first day. I found the people that were rolling in with Thai stick in their pockets and with Colombian whatever. And I have some horrifyingly embarrassing moments. I could talk for 3 hours about this. Probably the worst one was
We may have a part 2.
I had a religion nun that had a stroke. And we got high the second day of school, snuck across the campus, across the fields. There's a giant convent looking down across these fields. I don't know how we got the balls to do this or the stupidity, but so now I go back and I'm high, which if you knew me then when I was high, I looked Asian, and So the nun comes in and she goes to the front of the room and she goes like, in the name of the Father and the Son, and I just busted out laughing.
Oh my God.
Nobody told me. Like, what an asshole. It turned out she was so sweet, Sister Bertilla. And like, I was a stoned asshole sitting in that classroom in front of this woman that gave her life and to educate people, and I just thought it was funny. So, you know, that's one of those things I regret to this day. I just thought,
It's a real icebreaker with her, huh?
yeah, you know, it wasn't so good. You know what I'm saying?
First impressions
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. But God, I loved there. I loved everything about it. There was 98 kids in my graduating class. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be a cosmetologist, but my parents wanted me to go to school because my dad worked at Temple and it was going to be free.
Yes.
Free books, free tuition. So everything I talked about, they poo-pooed because you're going to college. And so, you know, there was girls in that school that were like the radius of the calculus. I couldn't even do arithmetic. I was like in general math, a moron, and it's true. Like, I have like a disability with math, and I was very intimidated by these girls, but I knew that I was there to have fun and, you know, to get through. And, you know, we partied when we could, and then things kind of progressed. By the time I was a junior in high school, my knee was starting to get really bad again. And
3-5.
I was in a lot of pain. And girls were bringing in triple twoies from grandmom's cabinet. I didn't care what I took. Mm-hmm. I'd be on crutches and I would be taking whatever they brought in. There was a girl that sat behind me that would just bring shit, yellow and black things, and and I'd be like, sure. And I took the easy way out with everything. I was much more interested in partying. And because of that, my GPA suffered. I didn't study like I should have. And what does that mean? Oh my God, come on, Phillies! Easy way out was my theme for the rest of my life, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I got through high school. I did attend Temple. I went for a year. I grew up on that campus. My dad's office was on that campus, you know, and what was I doing on that campus? Like, I used to run and do the inner office mail, which was back in the olden days when you literally had to run it from the Humanity Building to McGonagall Hall to whatever, and because of that, I knew all the nooks and crannies on campus. Mm-hmm. So I befriended people, and we would just get high all the time. All the time. My dad would say, "What's wrong with your eyes?" "Oh, it's my contact lenses."
And she didn't wear contacts.
No, bam. Actually, I did, but I don't know, man. I didn't look at it. Of course, I'm a parent now, but I could kick my own ass. So my partying impacted that part of my life. And so I decided I was going to quit school, get a job like my girlfriends, and get an apartment and get the hell out. That's all I wanted to do. This is 1979 now. And I got a job at Girard Bank at 2nd and Chestnut in Philly. I got a secretary job, even though I cannot type, and I do not know shorthand. But he thought I was cute, and he told me that, so he gave me the job.
There you go.
And
whatever it takes.
But I had to learn shorthand, and I had to learn to type, which I did neither one of those things. But I had that job, and it was the same situation. I go in, the new girl, very first day, I'm all dressed up, man. I got all my shit on, and a skirt and high heels. And I go into the bathroom, and I look, and there's like 6 feet sticking under in one stall. And I say to myself, my people.
My people.
These are my
They're
people.
following me.
So my people had cocaine from all parts of the city. People, took transportation down to that job. I didn't really like cocaine that much. As I got older, like 17, 18, I forgot this part. So actually when I was 15, I was introduced to PCP. I saw people doing lines for the first time at a party, and I was afraid the first time. I was afraid, and I watched it, and I was like, no, I'll just stick to my weed. And as I got a little bit older and the guys got older, the guys had jobs and cars, and so they would invite all the young ladies to these parties. And I remember trying PCP for the first time and tripping my brains out, and it scared the shit out of me, and I really didn't care for it. But I fell in love with the snorting and the burn and the drip. And that continued with me up until 4 years ago, really. There was a big gap in between, but so I loved that. I fell in love with crank, which I did not know until I got to rehab, was methamphetamine, because I'm old AF, and I didn't know that.
And whatever else they throw
Yeah,
at.
love to do crank. My girlfriend's husbands and boyfriends were dealing it. They were dealing everything. Whatever you wanted. It was like placing an order from a menu. For every holiday, weekends, make a phone call and you tell somebody if you want Quaaludes or what you want. And that's what we did. It was my whole... I lived really a double life because my best friend was this little good Catholic girl from a great family who would only drink a Miller Pony and get buzzed from that and smoke a little weed. But my friends from my neighborhood were balls to the wall. And there was lots of cash because they were dealing, and it was like, great, we're going to the shore. Woohoo! So, now I'm working at Gerard Bank and doing crank any possible chance because, then I'm going to be the best secretary and the best worker and the best friend and the best dancer and the best everything. That's what my disease told me. That without that, like I could function, but it just wasn't as much fun. In the meantime, my knee now is starting to go in the shitter. I had surgeries at 17 when they first started with arthroscopes, and surgeries at 19, and surgeries at 22, and and every time I would get meds, I remember taking Percocet with homemade wine that my neighbor brought over one time, and I remember literally floating above my body, looking down, thinking, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I loved it. And I at the bank I did drink a lot on Thursday nights and Friday nights. We would go out a lot. I wound up pregnant, and I wound up getting married, and I had a very difficult pregnancy, and it's the first time in my life I ever prayed. I prayed to God that he would let me keep this baby, and that if he did, and I didn't lose it, that I would be the best mom ever. And fortunately for me, I was able to maintain that pregnancy and gave birth to a beautiful little girl named Leah, who's 40 years old now. And I stopped doing all that stuff. And then when she was about 7 or 8 weeks old.
Yep.
Yo, Barb. Wouldn't you just love a line? Just a bump. Not even a line. Just not even, like, maybe just a couple granules. Like, it wouldn't leave me alone because I was depressed, I was tired, and I thought I needed that. And I drove around trying to cop with her without a car seat, holding her while my friend drove. And that should have been the biggest red flag ever back then. I'm 22 years old, and that should have told me everything, and but it didn't. I wound up getting divorced and remarried and having 3 more kids, and after the birth of my son, my 3rd child, the same thing happened to me. My girlfriend's husband had it, all bags of it, of crank, and I remember doing lines and breastfeeding my son and trying to calculate and do the pump and dump game, which is, get rid of the contaminated milk so that it doesn't, my son was 10.5 pounds when he was born, and all he did was eat. I love you, Bubba. And that wasn't a flag for me either. So social drinking with friends, and then I moved to New Jersey in 1996. To New Egypt, and because we wanted to get our kids into a good school district away from bullshit, which is insane. We lived in Chamonix Valley, and we moved to Jersey, and became friends with a lot of people that drank, a lot of social drinking, dove right in head first to my community, to sports. We were building our high school from nothing. They literally built a new building and only had a freshman class in it when it first started. So it was all hands on deck. Everybody needed. My husband and I, we coached. Like I was on every committee. It was my passion, and it was what I wanted to do, and it was everything I hoped for. Our parents didn't do that kind of stuff. Never came to games, never came to practices. So Jim and I decided that was something we were going to do different with our kids, and we did. And, I was just into it all, everything. Chaperone, party mom, you name it. I can make centerpieces out of toilet paper and toothpaste. What do you need? What do you need? It was there. And I got a job as a teaching assistant in the elementary school. The principal hired me to be a one-on-one aide for kids with a learning disability or special needs, and I did that, and I loved it. So even though I didn't go to school or college for it, I was able to participate in something that meant the world to me. Those kids, I didn't give birth to them, but they were all my babies. All of them. And I really wasn't expecting that to happen, that feeling. Right. And my knee was just getting worse, so I had another knee surgery, and they told me I was 30, and they said, you're going to need your knee replaced. And I said, okay, cool, let's do that. When do you want to do that? Can we do that? And they said, no. We're not going to do that till you're 50. Because it only lasts 20 years. And I said, well, I'm 30. What the hell am I supposed to do for the next 20 years, right? Well, we'll just keep doing we'll do mini surgeries, and we'll do some light meds and whatever. So I did that. And then rolling into like 1998, my knee was so bad. And I was working at the school, and I was involved in everything, and my knee doctor said, listen, we're going to try you on a new medication. We're having problems with it. Some people, but I don't think you will. And I said, what's it called? And he said, it's called OxyContin. I said, well, shit, let's try that. I could do that. I said, do you know who I am? I'm not going to have a problem with that. I got all this medical knowledge. I can talk meds and prescriptions and, PO, QI, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And let's go. So I did it, and I didn't have a problem with it at first. And then he told me he wasn't going to write it for me anymore. Now, I haven't had the knee replacement yet. So this is the big build up to the knee replacement. And he said, I'm going to send you to pain management. I said, okay, cool. So this was 1999, and I go to pain management, and I come out of there after my first visit with a script for OxyContin and a script for Percocet, and I thought, this is cool. I did okay. And then, a year into that, I start taking all my stuff too soon, right? I start blowing through my 30-day supply in the first 28 days, and then the first 27 days, by the time I got to my knee replacement, which was in January of 2002, I didn't know, but I was already addicted. I had such a high tolerance that when they did the surgery, they couldn't help me. I screamed for 3 days straight in the hospital. And I remember one night waking up, because I wasn't awake because I couldn't sleep. And there was somebody in the corner. I thought I was seeing Jimi Hendrix or some shit. And I'm like, can I help you? And the guy says, I'm here from anesthesia. I said, well, is something up? He said, ma'am, you have enough drugs in your system to kill a 300-pound man. And I'm just here to make sure you're breathing. Should have been a red sign. Should have been a big flag, red flag, but it wasn't. Then they moved me to an inpatient rehab facility for 2 weeks. And I plunged into the first withdrawal that I'd ever experienced in my life. It was like falling off a cliff. It was, sweating and chills and diarrhea and dry heaves. And my heart, I couldn't control my heart rate. And I shook and I didn't sleep for the 14 days that I was in there. No matter what they gave me, I couldn't sleep. They moved me to my own room because I was out of control in my room. Every time somebody touched me, I would scream, and they were like, what the fuck is happening here? So, but guess what? As soon as I got home to my pill bottles, it was a miracle. I felt great. I felt fine. I'm like, guess what? I had the flu. I can't believe that happened to me.
The flu.
And now I feel better. And I continued going to pain management. And I swallowed probably easily 60, 70,000 pills over the course of the years. I went to pain management for 17 years. I had a stack of MRIs and CAT scans, and I could literally go to any doctor, like my gyno, my dentist, anybody, my foot doctor. I had every allergist there was, and I'd be like, oh, I got to, the radial facsimile of the freaking, and I need something, and then I would drop all the x-rays and studies, and they would be, oh shit, you're right, what do you want? And the guy at pain management was like Mary Poppins with the bag of tricks, and he'd reach in there every month, and off we'd go. And what wound up happening to me, I was coming in too soon. I was already finishing. I would get my meds from my pharmacist, and I would go through all of them in the first 3 weeks, and then fall off a cliff for a week. And it got so bad that I would go through all of them in the first 2 weeks. I would be so fucked up and messed up, nodding out in the middle of a sentence, falling asleep, standing up, and then just in god-awful agony for the last 2 weeks. And I thought that was bad, but it got worse for me. I was in the hairdresser's chair, and she was washing my hair. My hair was all wet. It was a cold day in January, and I had that ugly black cape on. And I'm sitting in the fugly cape, and she's combing my hair out, and she says to me, Barb, these kids today, they're crushing and snorting that OxyContin. And when I tell you guys, it was like a bolt of something went through the top of my head and into my body. This woman that I had known for years, I stood up out of the chair all dripping, and she said, what's wrong? And I was like, I have to go home. I forgot. There's a delivery phone call, Candygram. I gotta go. And I literally ripped off that thing and drove home, and I crushed and snorted my first OxyContin. And that was in 2008. And that habit stayed with me until 2018. I stopped living my life. My marriage, I'm married to someone that loves me so deeply since 1984. And we said these vows, and he's always talked about these vows to me. And he just watched me disappear. He watched me almost die twice and have to call the EMTs to come revive me. He would cry to me and tell me that he loved me, and I didn't give a shit. Because I had a girlfriend and her name was OxyContin. And all I wanted was to be alone with my drugs. I no longer participated in anything outside of my home. I stopped my job. I stopped going back to work. And I, my friends would call and invite for stuff, and Jim would go and make excuses for me. He was living like a bachelor life socially. Yep. And he would go and say, oh, Barb's not oh, Barb's got it, Barb, she stubbed her toe. Whatever. And nothing. I didn't look at him. I didn't touch him. And it was the same thing with my kids. Whoever was in my house, I just wanted them gone. Just wanted them gone so that I could do what I need to do. So I'm living in this great big house on a hill in New Jersey, like a sample home looking situation with a white picket fence and the golden retriever and the nice cars. And it was all a facade because the only thing that was left inside was devastation. I was so sick from withdrawal after 2 hours that I wound up in my basement in an old bathrobe, wrapped up. There was no windows down there, hiding from my family because I didn't want them to see me like that. I couldn't eat. I couldn't shower. Sometimes I didn't shower for a week, 9 days, because I couldn't stand the feeling of the water on my body, and I would just tremble. So, I went from this person in the community, Mrs. Kelleher, hey, how are you? Oh, great, how are the kids? Great. To literally living in my house, counting pills hundreds of times a day, hoping, and playing that game that, oh, this time it won't happen. This time, maybe I won't take these today. I'll take those instead. And then what entered the picture was Soma, because I was having withdrawal cramps. So my doctor gave me these muscle relaxers, and I fell in love with those. So it just became this cycle. And I wasn't happy till I nodded out. I almost drove into trees with my kid in the car, and it wasn't a great thing. And they asked me to get help, and I rejected it. And it wasn't until I had another brilliant idea. Let's move back home, because if we move back home, then everything's gonna be better. So that's what we did. We sold our Jersey house in 2017, and we moved to Yardley, and I brought my addiction with me. And my husband and I were basically living like two separate people in the same building. I felt so bad for him. I became very depressed. Eventually he moved out, and I was never so happy to be left alone in my joint and could do whatever I wanted. Unencumbered joy. Here I go. And nobody called, nobody came, nobody texted. I was just all by myself, isolated with my pills. And so he moved out and got an apartment, and I'm trying to speed this up. He told me that he was seeing somebody, and at the same time, this was Christmas week of 2018. He told me that he met somebody, and he told me that this is pathetic, that she had never had kids and she was a professional and she traveled. And I just immediately went into a tailspin of her fucking body's perfect, first of all. She's not illiterate on a computer like I. She became in my mind everything that I was not. And instead of looking at it as joy for him, then our daughter told us that she was pregnant on Thanksgiving night. And the day after Christmas, she came to me and said, I will never, ever bring this baby around your bullshit, ever. And this is my one kid that I knew she meant it. And so I just went into kind of like a suicidal, I had planned it. I didn't want to be alive anymore. I knew my husband would be better off with someone else pushing my kids and my grandkids in a stroller on the boardwalk in Wildwood.
Mm-hmm.
That I could never be that person again. And I just wanted not to be there. And the only reason I didn't follow through is I didn't want to traumatize whoever it was that was going to find me. And
right.
I just couldn't do it. It's funny, I drove all around Ben Salem. Drove around the Chamonix Mall. Drove around trying to think of like a wall to crash into or something like that. It was... Anyway, and so I started to have like a nervous breakdown, and eventually on New Year's Eve day of 2018, my best friend showed up where I was living. She had a key, which I forgot about. I'd been lying to her for 15 years.
Right.
Like making up excuses. Her mother died and I did not go to the funeral.
Mm.
I did go to the viewing, but I didn't go to the funeral. This was bad. My father was elderly and lived in Warminster, and I only saw him like 3-4 times a year. It was just awful. And so I wound up being taken to a hospital, and they asked me. I had 4 seconds to make up my mind. They said, do you want drug and alcohol or a psychiatric evaluation? And I said, drug and alcohol. And that was the first time that I admitted that I was crushing and snorting. Right after my best friend reached in my purse and cut herself on the razor blade that I always had with me. So that was pretty horrifying. But my best friend and my husband got the word. They have a room for me at Livingren. Took me to Livingren, and the ball was dropping. It was New Year's Eve, and the tech was in the front door screaming, "Ah!" And the tech is telling me to wait. Hold on. She's telling me 10, 9, hold on, 8, 7, just another couple seconds. Like, I'm dying in agony. And it turned out it was because they wanted my start date to be 1/1/19, which is officially my sobriety date.
Awesome.
It was the best New Year's Eve of my life. The best decision I've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
I went in there, thinking like, I'm a soccer mom. I don't belong in here.
Yeah.
Y'all are junkies. Like, they were talking about shooting up in their necks at Kensington. I was like, the fuck? I get my stuff from my doctor.
Right.
Like,
I'm
you're
not like you.
You're a scumbag. But,
Yeah.
and I judged. And I talk about this when I go to Livingren and I speak. Like, I looked at people in the room and I was like, psh. And it didn't take long. Didn't take long at all for me to realize that we were all the same and we all had the same disease.
Yeah.
And I better stay there and listen, because my life was completely unrecognizable. I fell in love with some people there that I will always be indebted to. Some of the techs there, some that they're just amazing people. I got names and numbers in my big book from people that, the women and the men in the group, and I still have those numbers. What sucks is that like 5 of the people are dead now. Mm-hmm. That I was literally my roommate, like a 24-year-old girl. And, it's like people are dying from this shit. So, I go back to Livingren I've done it the last 3 New Year's, and it's my honor to do that. And I like to talk to the patients, and I always kind of feel, it's tough at the holidays for people, but to just share with them that they're where they need to be. And my life now is I attend my home group on Friday nights. I do an Opiates Anonymous meeting on Tuesday nights. I do a private women's AA meeting on Wednesday nights. I do a fantastic women's AA meeting, Sunlight of the Spirit, on Thursday nights in Yardley. It's a big book study. And I have other meetings that I attend sometimes. And I have a sponsor. People always say, and she knows she's my sponsor. And I have a sponsee now. And since Thursday night, I'm working with another young lady.
Awesome.
And my pleasure, one of my joys is to go to Livingren and to participate. I'd like to participate in more stuff, but like meeting you two knuckleheads and Kathy and John and
John,
various people and Amy and
It's a great crew,
and
man.
Mike.
No doubt.
Yeah.
It is. It's a family.
It is
really
a family. I
is.
try to explain that to my kids.
I
you
know they don't.
Like,
it's
I
it's
have
my
the
other
You've always
family.
heard that. It sounds
It's
so
my
hokey.
other
Yeah,
family.
yeah.
Like,
And they're like, we're not going to know anybody. I go, it doesn't matter. But yeah. And I have a tribe. I got to Yardley. My husband and he picked me up from rehab, and we kind of started dating. They tell you not to do too much too soon, right?
right.
And he was still imbibing and socially doing stuff, and I was going to counseling, and she told me, look, it'll never work if one of you is sober and the other one isn't.
Right.
So that it almost broke up because of that reason, but we wound up getting back together. We bought a home together. We are completely committed to each other. He is the best gift in my life.
That's beautiful.
I now have 2 beautiful grandchildren. Like, I got out of rehab in February. My grandson was born in June. That September, I started babysitting a couple days a week. Like, they trusted me to come into their home and sit with this child. And, there's been a lot of ups and downs with us. I've been going to counseling since December over some stuff. Because guess what? You take the chemicals off from you, and you're still left with you.
Right.
And I have a horrible habit of kind of ghosting people, especially my family. Like, I don't know. It's like I'm shitty to my extended family, but I have all these friends, so that's something I'm working on now. But it was so great. I wanted to give a shout out. My very first Halloween out of recovery, there's a gentleman named Rick that had a Halloween party in Croydon, a giant decorated yard, and my first sober anything, and I had so fucking much fun.
There you go.
I won first prize in the costume.
There you go.
They had a stage and a disc jockey and karaoke and a bonfire, and it was just amazing. There was not a red cup around. There was nobody. I didn't have to watch anybody get whacked.
Right.
And oh my God, I had so much fun. And so, like, now in the summers, it's pool parties. It's the Livingren stuff.
Livingren, the dance coming up.
I just got my tickets tonight. I'm going to be giving you music suggestions, if that's okay.
You should have gotten the tickets from me.
I got them from Kath. But,
Kath, I'm going to punch
like,
you.
it's just, I have my friends I grew up with, which I haven't actually told them a lot of this, my immediate unit of girlfriends. They don't really know, but I'm going to get to that. That's going to be part of my amends to them.
Right.
Because I literally fell off the face of the earth from those guys.
Right.
And so, yeah, things are great. I study that big book, and I'm doing a program with my sponsee. It's called A Woman's Way through the big book. And it's interesting. It's a book and a, oh my God. It's a tie score.
5-5.
Come
Let's
on,
go,
Phils!
Phils!
And it's interesting. It's interesting. So, you know, if you're out there and you want to get involved in 12 steps, I suggest you go to different kinds of meetings, speaker meetings, literature meetings, step meetings.
Can I
There's
share
just
this?
so much out there. Sure. Oh, yeah. Lori's putting my number up.
Yeah.
If you want any information about Opiates Anonymous, it's a new fellowship that started in New York about 7 years ago. Most people have never heard of it. It is embryonic for sure. And, you know, part of what I like to do is to give information that you know, we all know there's NA and AA and CA and HA. There's a shit ton of A's. But this is a very casual, very open group of people that I love immensely. You know, I'm not an alcoholic. I sat in AA meetings for a couple of months when I first got sober, keeping a secret. Because they would always say, please keep your comments in the bottle.
Yeah.
Say, so where is there? I went to NA. It was okay. And then I found out, my friend tells me, oh, they just started an Opiates Anonymous meeting. And I was like, I'll go. And my first night there, I was like, I found my people. I found my people once again.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, everybody in there is from AA.
Right.
And it's amazing to sit there and watch. Sometimes the chairperson will bring a speaker in that they only know from AA.
Right.
And the person comes in and they say, you know, they start to tell their story and they get really uncomfortable and you can see them and they go, this is so weird. I've never talked about any of this before. And we say, yeah, go ahead, man, tell your story. Mm-hmm. So it's a really good thing. You know, there's a meeting before the meeting. Coffee's on at 6:30 at night. And we get to know each other that way and support each other. And it's truly a wonderful thing. So.
Yes.
That's pretty much my story.
Christine says, my husband was screaming because the Phillies tied it up.
Yes.
And I'm like, be quiet because I'm listening to Barb. She's so awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
But we have a half an... did I tell you it's kicked back? It's laid back? You're not nervous now, right? You're
No, I'm flushed.
Well...
No, I'm not nervous.
No, it's
oh, now I'm nervous.
You weren't talking about me when I left the room, were you?
But
I can rewind the tape.
yes, if anybody has any questions that you would like to ask Barb, you can either call in at 267-737-8031 or throw it in the comments, and she'll be happy to expand on anything she may have
This is
talked
for all
about.
3 people that are out there tonight.
Yes.
Christine thinks you're awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Christine. Yes, she sent me a text of encouragement earlier, which I thought was really, 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 really
She
sweet.
is an awesome girl.
Yeah.
And we do have a half an hour left. So if anybody wants to share anything or comment, please do. I know you're sitting on the edge of your seats right now for the Phillies, and I get it. I understand it. This is a big time for Philadelphia.
Oh, you're not kidding.
And I'm so excited.
We have to root for Temple, too,
Came up with a
whenever.
whole term for
I
it.
gotta
There's
throw
all
that
Philly
in.
Teams playing at the same time for a week. It's called the Pentagon.
The
Pentagon.
Pentagon.
Oh, my God, that's
It's a real
awesome.
term. It's like a
Clever.
Pentagon. Perfect.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That at work, yeah,
So does it tell you how many people are actually...
I don't know. This is, I mean, it
This is a whole new
does.
format for us.
It says 18 views, and it only shows you like conjoint, like or whatever that word is, views. So it's
Concurrent viewers.
Is it being recorded?
Yes.
Because the people asked me that, and I said, I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, all our episodes are
on the
files,
page.
like 83 or
Excuse me, I
something,
just
84.
burst into the microphone.
You're good.
I
And
almost said microwave.
you're good. And you can also see past episodes on Facebook Live as well,
Nice.
the Facebook page as well.
Nice.
But we have moved over to YouTube simply because Facebook doesn't care
Facebook's
much
like
for me.
communists. It's like a communist.
Oh, you
organization.
said no politics, Poppy. Come on now.
Oh,
Come
they're
on
so
now.
tough. That music we heard in the beginning, we used to get warnings that we're playing
Hey, Sue.
music that we don't own. It's copyrighted music.
Ah.
Yeah, it's copyrighted. We own it.
Yeah.
But you
Well,
but you
my
can't
son
talk to a
does.
real person. He owns the music, all the rights to it. He recorded it, mastered it all. But that don't mean nothing to them. They're just like this cookie cutter answer. You're playing copyrighted music. Yeah, no shit.
Hey,
We own the
Sue,
copyright.
glad you got here. I hope you've been here the whole time, but if not, you can always rewatch it. Great story.
So
Great support. You can't go wrong with the support. Barb's number and name is in the comments. So if you want to reach out to her, if you have any questions about Opiates Anonymous, or want to hear more about the meetings that she does attend, feel free to give her a call. She'll be happy to talk to you.
Thank you.
And now,
I do have a little something.
okay,
Should I go?
yeah.
So I take an Opiates Anonymous meeting into Living Grin once a month. So that is a commitment that we have. That I take that in to tell people the patients about Opiates Anonymous. And I recently started and just took a commitment at Pyramid Rehab in Langhorne. I'm currently collecting clothes for them. They get people in that come in that have nothing to wear. They have no underwear, or they have jail underwear, prison underwear. I don't even know what that means because I'm Cinderella. And,
don't they sell that on Orange is the New Black?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this guy. So
Sorry.
it's okay. So, like I said, I took a commitment there once a month to there on third Friday of every month, and then I go there intermittently to speak to the women, and then they bring some of the patients to our meetings on Friday nights, which is fantastic to have them there.
Can I give you a little warning about collecting clothes?
Okay, go ahead.
You got to tell people
Weird.
you can't give us Aunt Betty's clothes who passed away and that's dated,
That's
that's
90.
all 1970 stuff. I'm telling you, that's what happened.
I know.
We've been there we volunteered with AIM and all.
Yeah.
And Aunt Betty passed away and she got all these outfits with tags on that she didn't wear, but they're so dated.
Yeah.
And
Right now they need.
But Pappy picks them up and brings them home
I end up
for
wearing
me.
them, you can't find skirts no more. and if you're really lucky, you find culottes.
I was just gonna say, otherwise known as pedal pushers, back in the day.
Yeah.
So
find a good pair of
I
culottes.
drove over with 8 bags of clothes to Pyramid on Sunday. Pardon me, and I actually had someone give me summer clothes, and there were bikinis in there, and I said to the lady, I don't suppose you want, bathing suits, because she said to me, no, we need the bottoms, because women come here with no underwear, and they
Right.
and that really struck me, because I'm skeeved,
Uh-huh.
somebody's underwear, somebody else had on before,
We-
but no, this is not the case, but
And-
yeah.
And I can make a suggestion. Just ask for socks, brand new socks, packaged socks, and underwear.
Yeah.
Because that is
It's like the hottest commodity, especially
Yeah.
to people
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
really
I
Yeah.
did
out on the streets and stuff that are coming
Yeah.
in.
gently
You know what I
used,
did
seasonal.
one time? I went to the area thrift shops and got 2 bags of clothes for $50, and I
Yes.
was so excited, and I took them, and they were so appreciative. So,
And
yeah.
I'll give you a girl to reach out to.
Okay. I have also connections in Trenton, Cass Street, the clubhouse on Cass Street. I've gotten to know some
Cass Street.
Cass
You said
Street.
Cass Street. I'm like, what the
No,
hell, man?
yes,
You're really hardcore.
yes. Bring your own balls. There we're back to sweaty balls.
Sweaty balls.
You started this.
The Shreddy family brings back the holiday memories.
Oh my God! Classic.
So I have a question. When you were in your opiate time, were you hit with all of the new adjustments to you can't go, doctor shopping anymore? Or were you just getting?
No,
Was that just
went down right before I got sober?
there? You go.
First, they made them uncrushable in 2010, but
Right.
of course,
Yeah,
there's a will, there's a way.
there's a will, there's a
So
way.
I was still
Mix it
going
with
to the
this.
same pain management group from 2002 until 2017. And they pulled me in an office one day. This was crazy because I was full on, had been on them for years, and they knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a new doc, and he said, "Yeah, we're not gonna write for OxyContin anymore." So I got right in my car, started making phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
and found somebody in PA. So but
Yeah.
it was a struggle.
And the same thing I had with my uncle. My uncle was in recovery from alcohol for years, like all my life, and he smoked pot and all. So I remember all through high school, he picked me up on the way to school and smoking next to me in the car, like crazy. And he got a job at the Navy Yard and got hurt and got put on OxyContin. Wow. Now I'm like, when OxyContin was first devised, it wasn't meant to be taken for 20 years. It was made to help you after surgery to the body start healing itself. It was made for battlefield injuries.
It was
made
cancer.
for hospice patients,
Yep.
cancer, end-of-life patients, and all. So, lo and behold, there's my uncle. Same story, man. He's doing all these years. He's crushing them up at the table. We were over there one year for Thanksgiving or something. We stopped by. And he's got a pill crush just before you even heard about it. And he's crushing one up, getting it ready. He says, yeah, it helps him work better for me. Like, just before all the advertisement about the perils of them and this and that, And now I hear all these stories, and your story's so familiar. I mean, he was the same way. He was just plowing through them, man, so fast. And I mean, he's not with us now. He just died last year. But I'm
sorry for your loss.
God.
Yeah, people ask me. People have asked me, did you become part of that class action suit? And my reply was, no, because I'm the one that put them up my nose. Like, I couldn't possibly sue somebody, because that's what I was doing with them. And and then I watched Dope Sick. And it didn't change my mind
Is that her one show? No, a different one?
No, that's a different one.
It's all about OxyContin. And I also, there's a documentary called The Crime of the Century. And I believe it's a 2-part documentary, and it's also about OxyContin.
Yeah, we
And
watched
the
a couple of them,
company-
and it was just horrible.
It is horrible.
The sales meetings with the
Yes.
chanting and the prizes
Yes.
and all that, yeah.
I didn't want to feel like I was victimized because I was afraid then it would give me an excuse to not take this seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if I said, well, they did that to me.
Right.
Well, yeah, I got screwed over by that company. If you watch the show, it's unbelievable. About what they did and how they invented a pain chart and how they just everything they did was so completely unethical. But yet, I was the one when I was 14 enjoying the hell out of that stuff. So I don't want to say I was in Living Green and I spoke and one of the young men raised his hand and he said, "You're an accidental addict." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he said, "Well, you didn't intend to be an addict. And I said, "This is no offense, but don't even finish that thought because you're an addict, I'm an addict. We're all addicts."
Yeah.
Don't try to figure it out, my dude. Don't try to figure from whence we came. Just know that where we are right now and what does my life look like and what do I have to do to survive and be normal again. Whatever normal. Life for me will never be the same. I know that will never be cured. No one is ever cured of this. You don't sit back one day and go like, I don't have to go to meetings anymore.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to
It's a disease that you put into remission through working a program. That's the best way. Like you say, it's so true. You're never going to be healed.
Yeah.
And so many people think, I can sociably drink now.
Yeah.
I've been clean and sober for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you can't. I mean, people have done it. There's always that anomaly, you know.
Yeah.
Who knows how true it is?
Right.
Sorry.
I still don't know anybody. I still don't know anybody.
No, for me too, the God thing. I know we're not talking about religion, but you know, I'm sitting in Livingren.
Oh, you just made Larry
and
turn up
I'm
the
seeing
TV.
the word God, and I'm like, I'm out of here. Like, they're gonna try to baptize my ass. They're gonna come in with white, you know, robes on and a tambourine.
Michael row the boat ashore.
Yes, oh hallelujah, right? And so I immediately copped an attitude like it's a cult and and it's Christian, and they're saying the Lord's Prayer after every meeting. Now, isn't that interesting? They say we are not religious, but we're saying the Lord's Prayer. So obviously I'm talking about it because it still annoys me a little bit, but I've come to love that prayer at the end of a meeting because we hold hands and there's just this energy that flows from one person to the next.
Are we going to get you in a drum circle, sister?
Amen. Yeah. And you know, it's deep. And my higher power, you know, they talk about a higher power, you have to find a higher power. And that bothered me. It took me about 3 weeks in Livingren to think of something bigger than me. And I saw a sunrise, my first sober sunrise when I was in there. And I remember looking out the dining room windows at E-House and thinking, I'm going to remember this moment for the rest of my life. And so there's, I'll just, for a second, if I can read, you know, this is something I read to people that come in that's, you know, they say they don't believe in God or whatever. And, you know, the big book talks about atheists and stuff, which I appreciated, you know, to go there. But this is a person's individual story. And he says, my conception of a higher power is constantly evolving. To this day, I do not know what my God of understanding or misunderstanding is. It does not matter. All I know is that I am not it. And that's kind of where the mindset needs to be. And to do the work and to admit you have a problem and to try to tap into your spiritual being and to clean house, we call it.
Yeah.
The fourth step, and then give back. And giving back, you know, is a very important part of the program.
And for the family side too, like that's where I'm at. I'm family side, and finding your, you know, group, your meeting. I walked into the first one that I walked into was a beginners Al-Anon, and I walked into all the slogans. I'm like, oh, it's a freaking cult.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're trying to brainwash me and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why is this Al-Anon? Why are these slogans on the floor? Because that's for alcoholics. Like, why do I have these slogans on the floor in front of me? Because I'm not an alcoholic. I'm here because my loved one's suffering. And I never went back there. I'm like, these people are whack jobs.
Wow.
And-
Great. You made that first decision.
Yes. And then my next meeting was the parent group. It was the parent group back then at Livingren. And because it was crosstalk, I could ask questions and hear the suggestions. And I thought, these people are whack jobs. They're telling me to throw my loved one out. And I'm like, who the hell are they? Like,
Yeah. You don't know me.
yeah. And I'm like, this is insane. Why would I do that to my loved one? And kept going back for some reason. I don't know why, but I just kept going back. And it just dawned on me, like, okay, they're not telling me to throw him out. They're telling me he has two choices: to stay here in a sober, clean environment, or to live the lifestyle they've chosen.
Right.
And that's when I just like, okay, I like this, and I'll take what I want and leave the rest behind.
Yeah.
And just for the families as well, you have different meetings. You have your Al-Anon, your Nar-Anon, your Celebrate Recovery, your Smart Recovery, Family and Friends, some kind of Buddha. I don't know what that one is, but there are so many different meetings we can go to as family members that suffer from somebody using, and whether it's alcohol or drugs. And you may not like that first one. You may not like that second one. I've gone to many Nar-Anon meetings. I take a lot from Nar-Anon, but I don't care for their meetings.
Right.
I like to go to the crosstalk type meetings.
Yeah.
And
I agree. Those are.
Yeah.
Overgrown's meeting for 7 years now, family group.
I
which is
loved
now-
that because I have a family member that I've been conferring with, and she went to Al-Anon and kind of liked it, but she thought it was going to be cross-talk conversational, and that's what I've referred to
Yeah.
you guys. Unfortunately, she runs a meeting on
It's
Wednesday
just more
nights.
comfortable, and more
Yeah.
friendly, and just more
But it is to
laid
be able
back.
to.
Where it's so
Yeah.
regimented that Don's.
It is.
I mean, you
But
can't
I think
talk.
she's-
You got a time when you're allowed to talk, and then
Yeah.
you're not allowed to
Yeah.
talk no more.
Yeah. And don't talk about your loved one, talk about, you and you're there for you. And I'm there for me, yes. But I'm there for me, but I still want the education. I still want to know. I still want to know, what I can do for my loved one while I'm trying to fix myself.
Oh, because you're in it, you're in it. I mean, let's face it, and, to help save yourself.
Because I did finish the certification for Smart
Yeah.
Recovery Friends and Family Facilitator. And I do know that they kind of, they're on that crosstalk type thing.
Yeah. Because it's a whole family disease. Mm-hmm. It is not a single.
Christine, I want to
Individual.
see that. What was that on? Because I wanted to see that. The interview with Matthew Perry.
Oh, yeah, Channel 6,
Was it-
2020, I think. It's probably tonight. It's probably
Yeah.
already happened.
Yeah, earlier tonight. So thank goodness, I can rewatch it. So
Yeah, I have it taped. Do we have
Yeah.
a score?
Channel 6, we have a score
Do
of.
we have a score?
Where are we at? Come on. We are still
tied.
5-5.
Come on, Phillies!
Bottom of the 6. Don't know who's up, but yes, I will check that out tomorrow. That I really was interested in that because he was really bad, and
Yes,
He
I see
was.
Sue mentioned Dr. K. We love Dr. K. By
Oh,
the way.
I
Yay.
love Dr. K.
She was such a gift in Live and Grin, let me tell you.
She still is. She
Uh,
popped
she
in the
is.
last party. She
Yep.
was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
come up
She's
with
an amazing
She's
person.
talked here on the show, but she can't stay up this late.
Well, I don't blame her on that one for sure. There's a lot of recovery
Right.
out there, people.
And I decided to do this time slot because a lot of meetings end at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then a Friday night's a difficult night because everybody's out after work drinking and getting high, and it's like then and then all the meetings are done, and then where do they go? And when I first started this, I didn't think anybody was on. Like, people that I knew from another show were always here, and it was just like, well, I'm not doing nothing. So I was really thinking, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just not helping anybody. And then I got 2 people that were on the verge of relapse.
I remember you telling that story, and
And
that's why you're here.
and that's why I'm
If
still
it's-
here.
If it's
and
one
this
person,
is
if it's
87, Rich? 87. This is our 87th
87th show.
show.
wow,
And
that's a lucky number for me.
is it?
My son was born in 1987.
There you go.
Love you, Bubba.
Yeah, and here we are. We're at show 87.
And another great guest. We're always looking for new guests.
Yes, and
A great guest and one of my best cheerleaders at any event when I'm DJing.
I'm
She
coming
can-
in with the list,
She can,
motherfucker.
she can always be found out in front of the DJ booth.
All by myself, right?
Dancing like Elaine Bennett out there, baby.
That's what I sent you. I don't care. You know, I don't care. I'm gonna dance. I don't care what's
luckily,
happening.
we don't have high resolution. Well, we do cameras, or you would see the big tomato stain.
Yes, it's a biggie. It looks like Connecticut.
But, she got a piece of ziti. Got
but
loose
is it
on her.
spaghetti? Is it
Before she
spaghetti
came over
sauce
here.
or spaghetti gravy?
Oh, now it's La Piazza, baby. It's the good stuff.
Okay, guys.
Allentown, New
The
Jersey.
good stuff.
Okay, guys. It is 10:30, so I hope everybody has a great week.
I can't figure out how to do
This one, you're over here
You're on the
now.
other camera now.
You're over here now. I hope everybody has a great week. I hope tonight helped anybody that's out there that may be struggling. Again, her number is in the comments, and I can have her posted on my page as well if she wants.
If you tuned in late, man, rewind, check it out. It was
Yeah.
a very good story. It was very touching.
Yes, and maybe she'll be back again. Maybe she'll be back one day with her
She's
husband.
always welcome.
Oh.
And that
we
would
do
be
couples thing. We do that. Eddie.
not a swapping swinger thing.
No,
it's just a couple
forget
thing.
about it. Forget about
Oh,
it.
if that does happen, we do ask you to wear a hairnet.
Oh my Christ. I'm looking at that shit on the wall and saying, okay, you know, that's for the next show, people.
Too funny.
I saw that and
Liberty
I'm
balls.
like, I said, oh my God.
Liberty balls.
I love you guys.
All right, gang, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. But
Yes.
I always say recovery works
Yes, it
if you
does.
work it.
Yes.
Amen.
Peace out, everybody.
Bye,
See
guys.
you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Oh.